Welcome to Backstage with Kennedy. This little show will be your remedy. From Toronto, spanning across the sea. Cool people, lots of laughs. This is your favorite.
Hello and welcome. My name is Kennedy from the Backstage with Kennedy podcast. I have a very, very special guest today. His name's Darcy. He is Epikuro. He is Kawaii bass, and I'm super happy to have him on the show. He is a DJ from Toronto. Met him a while back, and I'm super happy to have him because I know he's been working on a lot of stuff recently. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, Kennedy. Doing pretty great. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, yeah, brother. So, how have you been dealing with COVID? Obviously, I mean, you and I spoke a little bit before this started. Obviously, you were gigging quite a bit. You were working on a bunch of stuff. How did COVID affect you more than just like being able to play shows? Obviously.
I mean, like obviously, not being able to play shows, you can't really go out at all. Yeah, it's definitely changed up. Just doing partying in a whole lot of ways. I feel. In a way, I feel like it's probably not going to be coming back for a long time. And it's really been making me focus more on doing online stuff. Been doing just like weekly DJing, definitely getting in on different live stream festivals as well.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely know I've got one coming up sometime in August. Yeah, definitely a big fan of doing the online festivals. And then it's just been really focusing on more working on my own music.
Yep.
And just kind of taking this time to think about the different directions I want to take just musically going forward as well.
Absolutely. So, what's next for Kawaii bass?
It's a good question. Right now, I feel like the whole world has kind of gone on hold. I feel like I'm taking the wait and watch and see what happens sort of idea on this. There's definitely ideas of doing some albums and probably doing some more online festivals and stuff.
Yep.
But at this time, I think until we really have the ability to do real life shows, our abilities to really do much more than that are limited.
Okay. What do you enjoy most about DJing? I mean, I ask this question a lot, and a lot of my guests tend to be like punk bands or hip hop artists. So this is a little bit of a change up, interviewing a DJ, and I'm really happy that I can stretch this out a little bit here. But yeah, what do you enjoy most about DJing, and kind of what got you into it, Darcy?
What I really enjoy about DJing is really bringing like the music that I like to different audiences and also to audiences that really appreciate it. I've always been like an anime focused DJ, so doing music at anime conventions, it's always been kind of great for me because I feel like I'm bringing it to sort of like my community and just bringing a good amount of like really great tunes to a community so that we can like party in the right ways. I mean, like party really just focused on anime culture, which has always been one of the things where when I got into anime conventions, a lot of the music being really performed wasn't really anime music. There was like a lot of hardcore, a lot of other stuff, but it wasn't really focused on anime or like anime culture. So I wanted to bring more of that to anime conventions where people could really party out to that.
Yeah, and I mean, you want to bring what people are enjoying and what they come there for to them, right? You got to represent the people, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'd be going to a lot of different anime conventions, be partying out, and everyone I talked to, a lot of them would just tell me, "Man, I'm so upset. There's no actual anime music here. How is this an anime convention if there's no anime music?" So that was something that it always struck me as kind of weird. So that sort of became sort of my reason for DJing in a lot of ways, and how I really got into it as well was just knowing that I wanted to hear it and then wanting to bring it there because another thing that kind of happened around the same time was I was just going out to a lot more parties,
Mhm.
checking out a lot of DJs and stuff, and I was seeing how it was done, and it just seemed like it would be not that hard to pick up in a lot of ways, and there's more to it than it seems, but I think in terms of picking it up and doing something with it, DJing is pretty straightforward. There's obviously a lot of technical parts of it, but if you get some really great tunes together and you know what good tunes are that people can really dance to, people are going to dance to it regardless.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, absolutely. I was when I first saw you DJ at Dundas Video downtown Toronto. Um, I was going to support a fellow friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, and we ended up actually meeting for the first time there. I was personally never a big anime guy, but I really dug what you were doing, that niche that you found in that type of music. I thought was really cool, and I loved all the different like flavors of anime that you incorporated in there. That was really awesome, dude. So for somebody who's not really into anime, but is interested in checking it out, what would you recommend as the first anime they should watch? And what's your favorite anime, Darcy?
that's a good question. That's a good question. I guess it really depends on exactly who the audience is, depending on who they are coming in on it. I mean, for me, I came in on it being like 60 or no, way before that, like probably around 13, and I sort of really started getting addicted to it as soon as I saw a Ninja Scroll on like late night Teletoon.
Okay.
And I feel like it's like if you're my age now, I would say that's probably like a great one to watch to get introduced to it. But I feel like anime has kind of moved on a lot from that initial standpoint as well. So it's tricky
Hmm.
to. Oh man, there's definitely a lot of different entryways on it. I'd say like if you're younger, there's My Hero Academia and a lot of really good shonen like Demon Slayer coming out. Um, but oh man, there's just a lot of different ways to go in on it that I'm just trying to think like it does really depend on the audience, but there's just so
Hmm.
much anime now that there's a lot of ways to really get into it. If you're looking for something musical, there's definitely musical stuff out there. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
What's your favorite?
my favorite. Um, oh man, I'm having a. Okay. My favorite anime is Ashita no Joe,
Of course.
Tomorrow's Joe. It's one from the 70s about a young punk sort of dude who just kind of causes a lot of problems, gets thrown into juvie, and learns how to box. And then the rest of
That's
it
kind
is
of
just about
badass.
like him being a boxer and trying to become the world champ.
That's
Um,
pretty cool.
yeah,
And I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast, because obviously I do interview a lot of like punk bands, a lot of people who like grew up in that kind of background. I think a lot of people could relate to that. So maybe they should be checking that one out. That would be pretty cool.
uh,
Um,
yeah, they might enjoy it. It's pretty old school as well, so especially because it would have been coming around the 70s and sort of the early 80s, so it's sort of got a very classic feel on it. Um,
mhm.
yeah, there's
So,
definitely a
so
lot of
Darcy,
anime stuff.
are you originally from Toronto?
Was born somewhere around Scarborough, so basically yes. Technically wasn't Toronto at the time I was born, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, but somewhere in Scarborough, one of the
Did
hospitals.
you find did you find that living in Toronto kind of gave you the leg up over DJs that might live outside of Toronto when it comes to like, you know, increasing your exposure and increasing just the amount of opportunities you give yourself?
I think that's an interesting question because even though I was born in Scarborough, we ended up moving outside of Toronto for most of my life. I didn't really end up coming back into Toronto until I was like going to school, basically. And
Hmm.
So when I was going to school, I started making the connections in Toronto. Then it's questionable to say like if I had been in Toronto beforehand. It's true I might have made more connections. I might have actually been exposed to way more music because I didn't really start getting into music heavily until I started really coming into Toronto. And even though I had a lot of music I was into beforehand, it was like I never went out to shows. I never really got involved in the social aspect of music. It was really more of a private thing for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and and most of the time I wouldn't be able to find people where it'd be like, oh man, I found this amazing chiptune song, and there'd be no one around to really enjoy that with me anyway. But as things have changed, I think when before COVID hit, especially, being in Toronto does give you a huge advantage over a lot of people in sort of getting established and getting familiar with a lot of things. But I think also being in Toronto kind of puts you at a limit because people in Toronto don't necessarily want to see something unless it's bigger than Toronto. So
Yeah.
if you aren't super huge in Toronto, it still takes a lot to get a lot of people out to come to an event. And with venue space getting harder and harder to find in Toronto, it was becoming something where you could only really throw 100 people parties,
Yeah.
which almost any other city in the world that's kind of amazingly small, but those would be pretty medium-sized parties. Just coming just before COVID hit, basically, that's what people would expect. And we'd have a lot of different bars around Toronto at this point that would have that, but finding something where you can bring a lot of people out, or even getting a lot of people out, was just getting more and more increasingly difficult. I think a lot of it because everyone in Toronto is just working so many different jobs.
Yeah.
Just to afford the rent, that it's hard for anyone to really even go out to support their friends. They're just too dead from working all the time. So
Yeah.
in some ways, it's like Toronto was good at a certain time, but I feel like increasing rents, increasing everything, um, really made things difficult. And I don't know what COVID's going to do to things. We're going to see what happens if things lower back, if rents continue to increase. I think there was a time period where Toronto really was going to be like the central focus to everything. But I think going forward, it's just not really feasible for people in Toronto to do the same things as they used to anymore. I feel it's going to be coming more to small towns throughout all of Ontario because you can pretty much get everything you want in a small town fairly soon.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are able to work remotely as well, so they're not going to need to live in Toronto. And with schools being the way they are, where people aren't going to need to, they'll be doing their schools online for the next while until they figure out whatever they need to do. That's going to essentially make it way, way hard for to justify spending the money to live in Toronto to go to school.
I'm finding that as well. A lot of Canadian musicians, like a lot of Toronto musicians, are moving out of the city. You're right. And the hotspot seems to be Hamilton recently, which is so weird. Everyone wants to move to Hamilton right now.
Yeah, I've definitely been hearing a lot about Hamilton. It's in a good area. It's got the GO right there, so it's easy transport right into Toronto. I definitely think anything I'm seeing, like Hamilton's really becoming a new sort of artist place to be. I haven't really gone too much into Hamilton though. Which, I mean, obviously that's a big problem with people in Toronto is that they don't really leave Toronto. But I mean, without anything happening for the foreseeable future in Toronto, I think small towns are going to have an opportunity that they haven't had for a while to really see something happen new in a lot of ways. And I think it's going to maybe really change things up and create a whole lot of different music scenes because there's so many different small cities in Toronto where rent is a lot more affordable in Toronto. And if you can get an internet connection and you got food, you can focus more on being a musician. And
Yeah.
what we're finding now, I think, is that a lot of the opportunities for someone who's a musician are coming up more online, just due to the fact that you don't need to fly all over the world. You can be somewhere just like in your house. And, when things get back to the point that people can come to huge gatherings, um, who knows what will be possible with someone
Yeah.
who's built up enough of a following online. So I think at this point, it's really focusing on, um, if I think if you're an artist, like if you find somewhere cheap, you're better off focusing on making your musical performance efforts on the internet at this point and for the foreseeable future, because it
Hmm.
costs way too much to live in Toronto. And while the parties may be great, it's hard to justify the amount of debt that you're going to put yourself into to do
Yeah.
that as a musician.
Creating online network is massive, especially right now. I mean, I always said, like, if you're not out at shows, then you're sleeping, because you're not going to the shows and networking and meeting these people. But as this COVID's happened and stuff, now it's like, you know what? It's not the worst thing to be on my keyboard and be messaging people and really hustling from my own home, where I don't need to wear pants, and it's great.
Yeah. And a lot more bosses are getting a lot more familiar with just doing work online. It's something because of this. It's everyone's had to become familiar with it. So
Mhm.
be a huge game changer. And I think honestly, it could be something really great for all of Ontario, except maybe Toronto. maybe Toronto rents will go down a bit, but I doubt it. But we will
I,
see what happens. I mean,
we
Toronto
will
will
see.
always be a big city. Will have a lot of things and in a lot of things to do. And I mean that makes it something worth checking out. But what
Mhm.
I don't think as a musician, you need to focus on being in Toronto. You should
Mhm.
maybe come to Toronto and find some way to stay like when things are going on. But
Absolutely.
but even then, maybe you just figure out how to do it cheaply because living in Toronto doesn't make sense at this point.
Absolutely. So I caught wind about something about a free download. Can you dive into that a little bit for me? Can you tell the people what that's about?
Oh, right. Like the free download. Um, so I did a remix of a song that me. Oh, let me see if I can find that. I didn't even bring that up right now. Just give me 1 second.
Yep. No worries, buddy.
All right, so let me double check all this. So you can check it out on the DJ's Spin High
Hmm.
SoundCloud. Uh,
Which I actually happen to be the host of, believe it or not.
oh, wow.
Ooh.
Nice. So
Self promo.
so I guess it's a basically the best way to refer to this is a EP of a Madonna bootleg that Cunty Beats did of "Where's the Party." So I did a feature bass or remix of "Where's the Party," and so Cunty Beats did a lo-fi mix on this as well. So it's all available for free download off of the DJ Spin High SoundCloud. Definitely recommend to check it out.
Sick. Sick. I heard about it. I just wanted to know, and I wanted everyone else to know about it. And I'm gonna go download it definitely right after this, because I know anything that Cunty Beats works on and anything that you work on seems to be very good. And I mean, put the two together, and you got a little bit of a match made in heaven. So, um,
So much.
people, check that out. Check that out. So Darcy, where can people find you, man? Like, what is your social media? Where can people find your music? All that stuff.
All right. So you can find a lot of the music we do on soundcloud.com/Kawaii Bass. Also, my own personal stuff, just like soundcloud.com/Epikuro. My my socials are essentially Kawaii Base's socials are Kawaii Base on everything. Facebook, it's Kawaii Base. YouTube, it's Kawaii Base. Twitch, we have a Twitch as well. It's Kawaii Base. And we have a website, kawaiibase.com.
Sick.
My stuff go by Epikuro on SoundCloud, but on Twitter and Facebook, it's Kawaii Epikuro. Also Instagram as well. So that's my socials on the. What else? What else was I supposed to supply there? I had a complete brain fart.
I think that's pretty good. And if you can think of anything else, I'll put it in the bio so that people can see all your socials and stuff.
Oh, now I remember. And also
Okay.
I'm streaming every 6 p.m. Mondays on Twitch as well. So if you want to catch just a live stream of me spinning some anime music and other really bass music, bass heavy bassy music. 6 p.m. on Twitch TV / Kawaii Base.
I guess that's when the party is, right, Darcy?
Oh, yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you very much. Anytime that you have a show, please send me a message because I would love to come out and see one of your performances again when this world starts getting back to normal. And I'll definitely be checking out one of your Twitch streams. All right, man. Thank you again, bud.
Thank you so much, Kennedy.
You take care, brother. Peace.